Hey guys! So today's video is going to be on my favorite makeup brushes. This video is definitely long overdue. Brushes are everything. I believe if you have amazing brushes, you can make the crappiest makeup look good. Honestly, like you could have a $20 eyeshadow, but if you don't have a good eyeshadow brush, it's not gonna be as blended as it could be. So I'm just gonna show you my favorite current brushes. These are the ones I could be fine with the rest of my life. If I had all these brushes, I would be good to go. I can do a natural or glam look with these brushes, and I've tried, I feel like almost every brand of brush out there, and these are the ones that have stood out to me the most. So I'm gonna start with eye brushes. So when it comes to eyeshadow, you need two brushes in your life, just two. I believe you could have these two and you would be set. A blending brush and a crease brush. My favorite blending brush is the Sigma E35. I will do close-up shots of all of these. This is my favorite brush to use in the crease as my transition color. So when I do my eyeshadow, this is the first brush you will see me use. I love it for my transition color, which is the first color you apply in the crease, and it's so fluffy and soft, which you want a good blending brush to be fluffy, but it's also a little bit tapered, which gives you a lot of control. So this is the Sigma E35. My favorite blending brush. My favorite crease brush is from Morphe, and this is the Morphe M433. This is what I use for all of my crease colors, whether it's light, whether it's dark. It just blends out everything perfectly in the crease. It's the perfect size, the perfect width. It's tapered just enough, and I don't know where I would be without this brush. If I could only pick one eyeshadow brush to have in my life, like if I was only allowed to use one, this brush does it all. You can even use it to apply colors all over the lid if you want it really diffused. Morphe M433 is amazing. Very similar to the Sigma E25. I do like this one a little bit better. Also, for all of the Morphe brushes that I do mention, I do have a 10% off code. It's just Amanda. I'll link it down below. When you're blending out your crease colors, I mean, this does all of the work for you. Like, you look like a pro because you have this brush and you just put the color and it just blends it all perfectly. My next favorite brush is the Morphe G14. This is a mini kabuki for your eyelids. I use this to apply my eye primer. I use Soft Ochre Paint Pot from MAC, and I love this so much because I just dip it into the paint pot and just buff it all over the eyelid. This is from Morphe's Gunmetal line. You'll see me mention a few other brushes. The Gunmetal line is probably my favorite line from Morphe, and I love this. So this is the Morphe G14. Next is the small angle brush from Sigma. This is hands down my favorite gel eyeliner brush. I love it. You could even use it to fill in your brows with a powder if you wanted to do that, but I use it for gel eyeliner. I use it today for my wings, and it's just my favorite angled brush. Next is the pencil brush from Sigma. This is my favorite for buffing out eyeshadow and eyeliner on the lower lash line. I'm sure you guys always see me use this as well. So this is the E30, just the pencil brush from Sigma, and I love it. It's my favorite. It's really soft and fluffy. I do have the Morphe pencil brush, but I don't like it quite as much. This one's a little bit softer, so I prefer this one. My last favorite eye brush is also from Sigma, and this is the Sigma E45 Small Tapered Blending. This looks just kind of like a small little tulip brush, and I use this for a few things. One thing I use it for is to buff out and diffuse the lower lash line. So after I've gone in with the pencil brush, sometimes I'll take like a lighter shadow, or if I feel like it's not blended enough, and just buff it out a little bit more. I also use this for the crease because since it is like a little point at the end, it gets in the crease really defined, whether you're doing a cut crease or like even today I just have a little bit of black in the crease. I love using this with black eyeshadow because it really precisely applies it, and it's amazing. I also use this for my inner corner highlight. I also use that today. Nylon from MAC is my favorite inner corner highlight, and I like to like heavily apply it. That's what I have on right now. So I'll just like dip this into my highlight and just put it on the inner corners, and it's so soft but precise at the same time. So this is the Sigma E45. So moving on to face brushes. For foundation, I don't use necessarily a brush, but a beauty blender. If you guys have seen my other tutorials, you know this. Sometimes in the past, I would use my Sigma F80, which I have here to show you guys. It is a flat top kabuki. This is my favorite brush for foundation if I'm going to use a brush, but my ride or die is definitely the Beauty Blender. I love it so, 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 so much. You can find it at Sephora and a bunch of places online. This is extremely dirty because I just used it, but I use this for my foundation. You just run it under the sink and it expands in size, and then you squeeze out the excess water, and it's so bouncy, and you just bounce it on your face. And then I use the pointy side sometimes for concealer, but mainly to set my concealer. I will use this to bake my face with, I use the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder, and it's amazing. I just don't know where I would be without Beauty Blender. So my favorite brush for blending out concealer, I'm sure you guys already know, is the Morphe G2. This is just my all-time favorite brush for blending out my concealer. It is a little kabuki that's tapered at the top, so as you've seen in my tutorials, I just buff out my concealer. And when I'm not doing any eyeshadow, I love it too because I can just like blend out my concealer all around my eyes. I love it so, 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 so much. It's really soft. I have like 3 of these, no joke, and I just rotate them out because I get really lazy about washing my brushes. And hands down, this is the best brush I have ever used to blend out my concealer. The reason I don't use my Beauty Blender as much to blend out my concealer is because sometimes I feel like it makes my concealer crease because of the water, where this blends out everything. It's amazing. Morphe G2. Again, this is from their gunmetal line. Next is the Morphe M438. I like to use this brush for a few things. It's a little tapered, fluffy powder brush. One thing I like to use this for is when I'm baking my face, you have to brush all that excess powder off. So I like to use this brush for that because it's really soft and flexible. And then I also use it sometimes to highlight my cheekbones, but I mainly use this just to brush off that excess powder whenever I'm baking. I sound like a cook. So moving on to contouring and bronzing, I have 3 brushes to show you. First is the NARS Ita brush. This is the most precise contour brush that you will find out there, and it's definitely a staple in my opinion. It is expensive, but it's worth it. I like to use this to get that really defined cheekbone. Lately, I haven't been going for as much of a defined contour, so what I'll do is I will just go like literally right here. I'll only bring the bronzer right here with the NARS Ita brush, so that way it's not too harsh. But if you want really sculpted cheekbones, this is the brush for you. I also love it to contour my nose because it's just so easy. So NARS Ita brush, and then what I'll do is, like I said, I'll bring the bronzer like right here, and then I'll go in with my Morphe M404. This is a little duo fiber stippling brush, and I'll take a little bit more bronzer and just buff it all out. That's what I did today. I've done it in a few tutorials, and it's just my favorite way to contour recently. And I love using a duo fiber brush to contour just because duo fiber brushes make the product apply so much more natural. It's not as intense, it's not as pigmented, so if you're a beginner, you won't apply too much product, but even if you're a pro, you can appreciate how beautifully duo fiber brushes apply product. I love this for bronzing and contouring because it just makes everything look like your skin and so, so natural. Then the last contour brush I have is this big fluffy brush from Morphe. This is the M401, and I've also mentioned this a bunch. This is a huge tulip brush, and you would think, how are you going to contour with this? The way I use this is I just swirl it in the bronzer and then just contour the face, and it looks so natural. The reason is because since it comes to that little point, this point hits your cheek first, so you get a little bit of that defined contour, but then the rest of the brush follows on your face and buffs everything out, and it's amazing. When I want that like movie star contour that's so natural and airbrushed, I use this brush. So my favorite blush brush is also from Morphe. Say that 3 times fast. Blush brush, blush brush, blush, blush, blush brush, blush brush. I feel like a Morphe ad, which I'm not, but I just love their brushes. They're so affordable. This is the Morphe M427, and it's just a tapered blush brush. So instead of just being a square, it's like rounded upwards. Like I said earlier, duo fiber brushes just apply your products so naturally and really buffs it on the skin. And I love this with cream blushes, with powders. It's just absolutely beautiful, and it doesn't leave any harsh lines. Sometimes blush can be a little overboard. Like, you know, when you see people, or even if you do it on yourself, and it's just too much, with this brush, it never applies too much. So this is the Morphe M427. So my last two brushes are what I use to highlight my cheekbones. And first is this Morphe fan brush. Oh my gosh, my favorite fan brush ever. Again, this is from their gunmetal line and it's called the G23. And this is what I use to just put that highlighter on the cheekbones, and it's like highlight on fleek when you use this brush. And then sometimes I'll go in with this little small brush. This is a Morphe M200. So today I used both of these brushes. I will highlight on the cheekbones and then take just a little bit more highlighter because you know you can never have enough, and just kind of precisely apply that on the cheekbones and on the top of the nose, anywhere you want to highlight. So I love these two brushes. So those are all my favorite brushes. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll link every brush that I mentioned down in the description bar just in case you missed it, and I'll also link discount codes if I have any. I know I have one for Morphe, and I'll see if I can find one for Sigma as well. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one.